All right, welcome back to TML Weekly. This is our 2023-2024 season finale episode, brought to you by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill. Obviously not, we were hoping this episode would come out a bit later, but the loss last night to Boston, Game 7, we're here now. So what do you guys think about that game last night?
Johnny, floor is yours.
I thought it was a good hockey game. It was entertaining. I think both teams played. First two periods was pretty edge of your seat hockey. They played hard. The goaltending was good. Toronto, I don't think was as dominant as they were in 5 and 6 early in the game. Again, it's just the theme of the series was just goofy. Right? Like all of a sudden, an hour before the game, you hear that Wool's not going to be able to play. And then when you look back at the play, because they show it, I saw him get up gingerly, but I wasn't worried about that when the guy scored with 0.1 seconds left. I was like, woohoo, win. You're not thinking about that. So then that happens. Then Matthews plays, and then it's like, how Sammy, that game wasn't Sammy's fault. They were in it to the end because of Sammy. You can say what you want about the last goal. It was an unfortunate play that, maybe a little bit of lack effort on the two defenders. I'm not going to sit here and point fingers.
I will.
But there's, there's some fingers to be pointed. There's a lot to digest here. You got a new CEO at MLSE and Pelly, and you talk about the ShanaPlan. It's not working. Okay. So the idea of the ShanaPlan or, the Duba plan or whatever you want to call it is that you put, half your salary into 4 offensive hockey players that are paid to score goals and set up goals. Right. Toronto doesn't do that in the playoffs. So it's great. You get 100 points every year and maybe every third or fourth year you get a President's Trophy. But when it comes down to it, that 40 million or 45 million or whatever they're all making could be better suited in some other areas. What are those areas? I don't know. I could sit here and speculate and say, you need a right shot defenseman or third line center. What? That's up to them. They're the experts. They're in those positions. But this isn't working, right? This is not working. So maybe one of those $11 million contracts should be a defenseman. I don't know, but I think that it's there's a lot gonna unravel here in the coming days. We're gonna find out why guys were hurt, who was hurt. There's gonna be rumors, and upon rumors about trade this. None of the guys that you could get anything for on this roster, you can't just trade them. I read a thing that Mitch Marner to Columbus. Well, Mitch Marner will have to agree to go to Columbus. That might happen. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but Mitch Marner and his agent, or Austin Matthews and his agent, any of them, hold the cards. So the contracts that the Toronto Maple Leafs signed with these guys not only really have put them in a little bit of a pickle because they can't score. They haven't scored more than 3 goals in 25 playoff games in a row or something like that. And you've got, arguably the best goal scorer in the world. And, take Tavares out of it because he's slowing down. But, Marner and Nylander are top 10, top 15 players in the world. So you got 3 guys, in my opinion, that, so something's got to happen here. And I think we all know that. I think the coach is going to be gone. I know you'll have a little dance and party, John, but, I think it's time. And you saw that in his post game. He's defeated. Shanahan, you never know. I mean, for a living, he could be gone too, but we don't know. But it's going to unravel here quickly, and get your popcorn.
I mean, listen, if you've watched this all year, I take a lot of heat. I take a lot of heat because I'm happy to say not what I'd like it to be, but what I see. And what I've seen for the duration of this season came home to roost, right? What happened all year long? we'd have third period leads, right? How many times do we do a show with a third period lead and we would do something boneheaded and stupid? And then everybody would come out and we'd all make excuses, right? We're working on this. It's a late day of travel. The guys are trying to play with new partners. We're trying to figure it out. There's always a reason. And yet here we are in another game 7 with a lead with 10 minutes to go. And can't hold on to it. Like we've seen that story before, right?
That's exactly what I said on our show last night. You said that Toronto has to score first, and I said, "What if they don't? They have to."
They got to answer right away, right?
And Boston did that.
And so let's look at that goal. There's no. Again, I go back to whether it was Freddie Anderson, whether it's been Jack Campbell, now that it's been Samsonov. I don't care that you made 750,000 saves. The one that you needed to make, that you should have made, you didn't make. Like I'm sorry, that goal can't go in. It just can't. It can't go in. But yet, it did. I go back to things that you guys know I was losing it right at the end of the game there. How before we go into overtime, you've got your big guns on the ice. Everybody's going hard. How you don't call a timeout? Again, beyond me on how that timeout doesn't get called. Moreover, not only do you not call the timeout, you roll with Pontus Holmberg on the ice. Now, I'm just saying, we talk about a core 4 and throw Morgan Riley in there. Call it a core 5. Call it whatever you want. You got $50 million tied up in elite hockey players, and you're in game 7 on the road in a tied game, and you've got Pontus Holmberg on the ice.
They got a chance with him out there.
John, well, great. We could put out. Why not put out Ryan Reeves? We could say, well, we had a chance with Ryan Reeves on the ice. Well, yeah. Pontus Holmberg, when he was 9, playing in Finland, did not ever get on the ice in a game 7 with 30 seconds to go. Never happened.
But this is where you have to understand, John. When you're on the road, your job at that point is get the game to overtime. Get the game to overtime. If he thought Pontus Holmberg would maybe be a defensive conscious for the group that was out there, sure, we're going to try to score all the time. I'm not saying don't try to score.
Call a timeout and keep your best players on the ice.
Anyway, pinpointing these.
All I'm telling you is it's the same thing that I've said all year. It's the same thing.
Samsonov was written off. He could have gone in there and let in the first 4 shots, and that game was over. Or Toronto's big guys could have scored 4 goals and not be in the position in overtime to allow that bad one. So it's the sum of everything. It's not. I mean, they could have won that series, right?
Surely. Listen,
but I'm not going to put it down to one play.
I'm not putting it on one play. I'm saying, and my whole point on this whole start here is, if you watch what you saw through the regular season, this is not a surprise. In big pressure, big moment games, more often than not, this is what happens.
And you're blaming it. You think it's the coach, or do you think it's the?
Oh, no. There's plenty to go around. And again, what I want to be I want to be explicitly clear here is this is not a one season, one playoff performance thing with a coach. It is not that. Okay. This is a culture that has been created over a 5-year run with this team and by this coach that has to stop. For me, and you guys all know I've said this from the Montreal series, it was evident to me in the Montreal series. And again, Sheldon Keefe may be a fine NHL head coach. I have no idea if he is or not. What I will say is this: he is not the right coach for this group.
Yeah, I totally agree. He hasn't won. He's
And
the
before
horses, and he hasn't won. He'll be coaching in a minute when,
listen, I'm going to make one more point, and then I'll get off it. Okay. Here's the difference. And everybody, you want to know why I call him an AHL coach? This is why. Boston's coach says to Pasternak, you got to play better, dude. Knock the noise out. You got to be better. What does Pasternak do? Pasternak actually said, if I was the head coach, I would have said that too. And what does he do? He goes out and has a great game, scores the winning goal. Bob's your uncle. Can you imagine Keefe doing that? There's a difference.
Well, part of it's the market.
No. There's no part. Boston is not a harder place to play than Toronto is. It's not. It's an original 16.
No, I realize that. I'm talking about the market. I'm talking about the Toronto market, the media. If Keefe said anything about Matthews, he's got to play bear. He's not like it's a different animal. And the more I think about it, so
it's his second year as a head coach, John.
What?
It's his second year as a head coach.
Yeah, Toronto.
If Keefe had done something like this at the end of the Montreal series or the end of the Tampa series, when he was so enamored with having respect from the other team, if he had sat there and said, our stars need to play better, that's the bottom line. Hey?
He would have been fired.
Well, then he should have been fired.
Why? It's this market, and this is where I'm going with this, okay? Everybody talk, 67, they haven't won. Part of it, honestly, is us, the MSM, the mainstream media, the print media, the guys that go around, the fan base, the lynching, it's just like
play better.
Yeah, but I don't think you'd have to. The way I'm looking at it right now, I don't know if you could recruit all the best players available at a cap wizard and come in. There's so much noise in this town that there isn't anywhere else. Montreal maybe would be a close second. That it's tough. And now you've got guys. You're gonna have guys that we're not even gonna discuss that are gonna be like, I can't do this, man. My deal's coming up. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go play in Florida, or I'm gonna go play in Nashville, or whatever. And it's just gonna keep happening. It's just gonna keep happening. But to your point, there's different rules here. There's different rules. Sheldon Keefe calls out Austin Matthews. That's a different conversation than Jim Montgomery calling out David Pasternak, and it should be the same.
Culture.
But it isn't. It's not culture. Then the culture has been here for 50 years. You remember Larry Murphy?
Listen.
Larry Murphy was run out of Toronto.
Yeah.
So he went on to win more. He had already had 2 cups in Pittsburgh.
But I mean, hold on. But let's we got to call a spade on this. Jake Gardiner was run out of town.
Right.
Same thing. Okay, so how about, I got a great idea. Play better. Jake Gardiner has the worst plus minus in NHL history in Game 7s. I don't know. I feel like play better.
It's a bigger problem than that. And I mean, at the end of the day, this team's been good enough to win. I've said it all along. Yes, they are. They are. They win that game last night. They are. And they have been the last couple of years.
They're not.
But it doesn't.
I can't get there.
It doesn't happen.
You know what? I think what we've done is we've allowed ourselves to fall in. Like we allowed ourselves to believe that a goalie that got put on waivers through the entire league this year was somehow going to lead us to the promised land. And we all bought into it. And I agree. John, I'm with you.
Goaltending.
I'm with you.
Goaltending lost this series?
Goaltending certainly wasn't good in this series. Joseph Wall was fucking phenomenal. Pardon my language.
Goaltending didn't lose this series. They can't score goals, John. You got $50 million worth of guys that can't score goals.
Again,
they scored 1 goal in game 1, 3 in game 2, right? and then 1-1, 2-2-1.
Hold on. So are you going to
50 million?
Hold on. So
Don't blame it on the goalie. You know what? I think both goalies were fine. I thought Samsonov wasn't awful early in the series.
I don't even know how to respond to that. I don't even know how to respond to that.
They didn't score.
Llisten,
it doesn't matter how good your goalie is.
Listen, I understand he didn't score. I get it. No, listen, and I'm not absolving anybody of an inability to score goals. That's not what I'm doing. I am like, we're going to get there. Believe me. What I'm telling you is our goaltending and the goals that went in and Sammy swimming all over the place like he was, Michael Phelps, it wasn't good enough. And it was never going to be good enough. That's the point I'm making. It was not good enough. It was never going to be good enough. We allowed ourselves to buy into it, and it didn't work.
He's in Boston in Game 7, didn't expect to be playing, was roasted in the media by not only some of his teammates, but his head coach after Game 5 or Game 6.
Did he deserve it?
Then they fucking knock on his hotel room.
So what does that tell you? So hold on. What does that tell you, though?
Listen to me.
If his coach
you're blaming this on goaltending. I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm not saying it.
Game 7, he allowed the Boston Bruins, didn't know he was playing, and goalies are cerebral guys. They have a 2-day routine.
He knew the night before there was a good chance.
Not even a good chance. He knew that there was a chance, okay? Then he comes in on the road in Game 7 in Boston and allows one goal in regulation time.
Soft goal.
One goal.
Should have had it.
Right. Shouldn't be in overtime. Not the goaltender.
I don't know if he makes that save.
I always say it doesn't matter.
Makes the save, it's not going into overtime. We win 1-0. Right? Like that's the reality.
So $50 million should be one goal a game?
No. Again, see,
that's what I'm saying.
But don't do that. Though. That is, I'm not absolving. The other thing, though, and if there wasn't a track record of years and years and years of underperformance from the offense, you got to give Jeremy Swayman. Jeremy Swayman
he played well.
Like, again, another series where we had the second best goaltender. And it's very hard to win in the playoffs when year after year after year after year after year, you have the second best goaltender in the series. I don't know what else to say. Anyways, let's move on into, I don't know, where are we going next, Nolan? I don't know. Where are we going?
Yeah, so talking about Keefe and all these roster moves brings the question, is this the end of the ShanaPlan? He's been here since 2013. They've won one series.
Yeah, I think they're looking at everybody. I don't know if Pelly has any sort of relationship with Shanahan. Shanahan being the boss is not going to be the boss per se as he would have been before Pelly came. So is there a chance that Shanahan stays around? But the ShanaPlan, yeah, that's gone. It'll be whoever the GM is and coming in, and they're gonna have to look at everything and do things different at the end of the day.
So do I think the ShanaPlan is over? Do I want the ShanaPlan I want the ShanaPlan to be over. I want a bloodletting here. I think this organization desperately needs it. I'm not above Tree Living sticking around, but listen, if Tree Living gets caught in the fire, I'm not losing sleep over it either. That said, and this is a bit of a hot take maybe. I am not convinced that Brandon Shanahan will be removed.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on him.
And I'll be honest with you. I am also not 100% sure that Sheldon Keefe's going to be removed. I'm just telling you, I would not be stunned if we got to October next year that Shanahan's still there, that Keefe is still there, and that Mitch Marner's still there. I would not. Fair
enough. I mean, we thought that he was gone last year.
It might be a hot take, but I think what could transpire here, and this is my greatest fear, is that we're going to sit there and go, Willie was out and was kind of hurt. Matthews was hurt, and we were right there. you know what? If we can go out and get a goaltender in free agency and maybe tighten up a little bit of the defense, we like the way the defense played. Sheldon got the boys to rally in the last couple of games, and I think we're close. I could totally see. I'm telling you guys, I could totally see it. It's happened every year.
I don't, but we'll just have to, like I say, get the popcorn out and wait and see. So if Keefe goes, forget about I think Treliving will stay. If Keefe goes, Nolan, who's the next coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Craig Berube.
He'd be a good, for sure. He'll be in the conversation, 100%. John, what do you think?
If it was me and I was in charge, I would break the bank. I would do absolutely whatever it took to get John Cooper behind the bench. I think he's the best coach in the league.
Yeah, I mean he's got success for sure. I'd go off the board. And there's a guy that just coached the U18 Team Canada to a gold medal in the Worlds. He just finished the season. I think it was 49-0. He coaches. His name is Gardner McDougall, and he's been the University of New Brunswick head coach for a long time. And they win every second year. They win nationals. Last year, they didn't lose. And at the national tournament in Toronto at the old Maple Leaf Gardens, TMU hosted, they didn't get scored on in 3 games, right? He fantastic coach. And just to add a little bit to the allure of this guy, he's probably 20 years at UMB, just a machine of a team, right? So St. John, New Brunswick, 2 or 3 years ago, hosted the Memorial Cup, the St. John Sea Dogs. So they're the host. Have a good season, lose in the first round, get upset in the first round. They're hosting the Memorial Cup. They got a month off. They fired their coach. Gardner McDougall lives up the road in Fredericton, and he wins the University Cup, the Canadian University Hockey Cup. And then they go, well, why don't we ask him if he'd come and coach the Memorial Cup? So he just finishes the University Cup. They fire their coach. He comes down and practices the kids and works with them for a month while the Q playoffs and the Dub playoffs and the old playoffs are on. And then all of a sudden, he wins the Memorial Cup. Takes this team that compete in the first round. Wins. The guy can coach. Proven.
Can I just?
I would bring him in a minute. He'd be my first call.
So here's the only thing that I'll say about that. Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach in the history of the world, and Nick Saban got laughed out of the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick Pitino.
Apples and oranges. I get it. There's guys that don't.
So listen, all I'm telling you is this franchise right now cannot go with a rookie coach. It cannot go with a rookie manager. We've been there. We've done that. We've got autographed T-shirts. Kyle Dubas is sending pictures to his friends and fans. No, never again. This team needs an experienced, legitimate NHL coach with a track record who can come in and command respect. That's what we need. And listen, and I'm not saying, John, this guy who's on the under-18 team would not be a great coach. Everything sounds brilliant with him. I'm in. However, do it in Ottawa.
You're forgetting about something, though. And I'm a Leaf fan, and I'm going to say this. A lot of those guys wouldn't come here. The guys you're talking about, they ain't coming here.
Probably.
Why would John Cooper, who can coach in Tampa, competes every year, develops his players, right? Can get up in the morning and go golfing, can take his wife and his kid to the grocery store, not get noticed. Why would a guy like that? The main ego would make it. If I can be the guy to win a cup in Toronto, but then, so yeah, we'll see. Berube's probably going to be high on the list for sure.
I think so too. I think that's a reasonable. He
just won. He's got that. He played here.
Call.
Played here too. That kind of helps. He gets it. He played a half part of a season in the 80s, 90s, early 90s. Thought he was here at one point. No, look him up.
Ruby? I don't know.
Yeah, he came over in a trade, I think.
Anyway, listen, I look at this as this when I look at the Maple Leafs and I hear all of the negativity, and I do. And I hear I don't want to play in Toronto. And I hear it and I get it and I understand it. But listen, if the New York Yankees can attract the talent, and if Manchester United can attract the talent, and Real Madrid can attract the talent, listen, if you want to play in the big market and you want to play with the big boys, step up to the plate. And if you don't, that's okay too. But then go on record as saying, nah, that's not for me. And I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with it, I don't want you here.
You can't compare that. They don't have a hard cap like this, though. It's not just a matter of saying, okay, let's just go buy the top 10 forwards, and yeah, you know what I mean? Like they got to fit into a puzzle, and they're kind of cap screwed right now. Let's face it. Like Treliving or whoever, I think it's going to be him. But if somebody else comes in, trying to navigate this offseason is going to be goofy.
Our cap space is actually going to be okay, John. We got 5.5 of Bertuzzi coming off. Domi's 3 points coming off. Brody's 5 points coming off. Sammy's 3.5 coming off. Edmondson, Gio, Labushkin, Jones, they're all under $1 million that are all coming off. You're going to have, and then on top of that, well, I mean, I'm not going to include the other guys that are on LTIR, but there's like $15 million worth of LTIR contracts that are coming
Murray's
off.
comes off.
Right?
Just to finish up that last one, 91-92. 91-92. Berube played 40 games for the Leafs, 5 goals, 7 assists.
Oh, okay.
109 minutes. I knew he came over. It was between Philly and Calgary. So let's go through. Let's kind of talk about the guys whose deals are up, and let's do a quick blur on them. And
where do we want to start, Nolan?
You have cap friendly pulled up, so you can go through the expiring.
Okay, so let's So let's take a look. Let's go through the players here. All right, let's talk about Austin Matthews first. Let's talk about the savior. Listen, he signed the 4-year deal. He had 4 points in 5 games, set up the only goal last night, playing at 12%. Does anybody think there's any chance that Austin Matthews does not play for this team for the duration of his contract?
No.
Yeah, I'd never say never with the way this is right now.
Okay.
I would never say never on anything. I don't think that there's anything that could, and I mean, obviously, if you were going to move him, it would be part of a really, really big deal that would maybe make both sense for both teams. So I don't know what that deal looks like. I don't even want to think about it because I think it would be a mistake. But I wouldn't take anything off the table. They have to be so creative to try to retool this that, yeah, if somebody came and, if Chicago comes and says, hey, you can have Bedard, he's got 2 more years at $1 million. And then, our first rounder this year, I'm just saying that there's a deal out there for everybody that's on this roster if it made sense.
Okay.
But yes, he'd be the last guy I think would go. But
okay, me too.
I wouldn't rule any of it out. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 1 more year. Johnny Toronto at 11 sheets.
I'd explore everything that you can do with that. I don't know. I think because of his age, a buyout may not be. I don't know. I would look at a buyout option, honestly.
It'd be 2 years of 5.5, right?
Is that how it would work? But
Yes.
But because of how old he is at a certain time, there's different rules for that.
Yeah, I say Tavares stays. I don't think it's worth shipping off assets to.
Well, I think if he stays, he's got to take the C off his jersey and hand it over to Austin Matthews. That's what I think. I said that before.
I mean, sure.
I think that'll definitely happen at least by the time Tavares' contract ends after next year, at the latest. But
okay, next.
Sorry, just before we leave on Tavares, does anybody, if you watched the post game last night, does anybody not wonder why? He's played 17 years in the league. He's been captain of his team for 13 of those 17 years. and he's got 2 playoff wins. Does anybody not wonder why that's the case? Like, I look at him, and just once, I want to see him pissed off and angry. And even last night, it was like, oh, we were close. We were getting our chances. And I just thought, Jesus, John, read the room. Read the room, buddy. Just get angry. Just say you're pissed off and angry. And we didn't come through, and we really wanted it. I don't know. That's, for me, I look at you're a captain of an NHL team. You've got 2 wins in 13 years. It's not good enough. That's my take there.
Yeah, I mean, they're trained. These kids are doing media training in Pee Wee now.
He's not a kid anymore. I'm not interested there.
But he's been doing media training since Pee Wee. So he was told back in Pee Wee, don't be emotional. Speak, because the media's going to turn around right back in your face. So,
I get don't be emotional, but don't be a robot, John. Don't be a robot.
Well, they are. They're trained to be. You know why? They have to be. They have to be somewhat, because as soon as you do something emotional and it's on video, you're screwed. You say the wrong word. You say the wrong term.
Okay, so hold on. So I'm glad this is a great segue here. We just said, you do something emotional and it's on video. Let's talk about number 16.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's been the whipping boy here for a while.
He's got 1 year. He's got 1 year left at 10.9.
Yeah. And they can re-up him as of just, so he's eligible for an extension July 1st. Right?
Does anybody think, okay, so hold on. Before we go too far down the road, does anybody think there is a chance that on July the 1st, we're having a conversation with Mitch Marner at 12.5 a season?
Yeah, I think there's a chance for sure. Like I said, I think there's a chance of everything that you could possibly think of right now. There is absolutely a chance. Do I think that that's going to happen? No. Do I think that Mitch Marner is going to be here in September? I don't. And I think a lot of this isn't going to be the Toronto Maple Leafs saying, we're giving up on Mitch Marner and we're going to move him. I think it's actually going to be the other way around. I think Mitch Marner and his camp are going to go and say, I can't do it anymore, man. We talked about this the other night, right? And I think Mitch is the guy that gets the beat down, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not going to say that I agree or disagree.
I will.
Like that. But a good point would be, if you look at the secrecy around Willie missing the first couple and then Austin missing the next couple, if either one of those had been Mitch Marner, the media and the fan base would have 100% turned on that kid and said, oh, he's, blah, 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 and they didn't on the others. And that would be the reason, in my opinion, that maybe Mitch and his representatives go to the Maple Leaf organization and maybe make this blow up a little easier by saying, hey, here's 3 teams that we'll go to. We have a no movement, but if you can, and we'll extend. So the way that Toronto gets assets back for Mitch Marner isn't for a rental player for next year. You might as well keep him, right, for what you're going to get. But let's say the Seattle, I'm not going to just pick a team, the Seattle Kraken, and they, he's on that 3-team list, and Toronto can find some assets that they want back. I think that you can get, I think that's what we're going to see happen.
So Nolan, but before I get you to jump in here, Nolan, because I know you've got a take on Mitch here. I just wanted to quickly ask this question, and this goes to both of you. When we say things like Mitch is the whipping boy and Mitch is getting a raw deal, and if it was Mitch, the people would have turned on him. Do we at any point in time feel that Mitch Marner has any bearing of responsibility for the reputation that Mitch Marner has?
I said right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not going to comment. Totally.
That's my only thing.
Said that could be for sure the holdout.
That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's fair enough then. That's the only point I'm making. Is when I hear the whipping boy thing, I always go back to when you say I'm the man. I deserve the money. You deserve the criticism and the critique that goes with the money. That's my only point. Whether it's Matthews, whether it's Marner, whether it's Bertuzzi, it doesn't matter. What in any sport, when you sign the ticket, you sign the entire ticket.
Yeah. No, sure. So that's what I think is going to happen. I don't think you'll.
Nolan, what's your take on 16?
Yeah, I think Marner's gone. I think it's time to move in a different direction. Obviously, whether you like Marner or not more than other guys, Matthews, you can't trade Matthews. He's the franchise player. Nylander, you just signed an 8-year deal with a full no move. Tavares, he's a little different. He's older guy, 1 year left. Marner, actually has a good value. You can get lots of stuff in return for him. It just clearly isn't working out in Toronto. I think it's time to move on from Mitch.
Okay. Well, hot take from John. Mitch Marner will be in our lineup next year. That's my hot take there.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about a guy who I've roasted all year. Tyler Bertuzzi, 5.5 unrestricted free agent. What do we do, boys?
I bring him back for a couple of years at that 5.5.
Okay.
Probably
Nolan?
2 years.
Yeah, it depends on what he's asking for in free agency. Obviously, if he's asking for over what he's making now, definitely not.
He'll get more than that somewhere else. Depends on where he wants to be.
Yeah. If he's at like $5 million or less, I'd consider it, depending on what other moves they make if they trade Mitch and what else they do. But I'd rather keep Domi rather than Bertuzzi, just based off.
Okay, so we got Domi next. So Domi also comes off the books. He's at $3 million a season. Here's one thing that I think that when we talk about Max Domi, I think it's important to notice is that everybody else saw the exact same things that we saw from Max Domi this year, right? They showed that Max Domi, when Max Domi wants to, and he's paired with good players, he can be dynamic offensively. And so if Max Domi's coming back, it's not on a 1-year ticket at $3 billion.
Oh no, for sure. He'll be up for a raise.
You think it's more? He had 9 goals.
Depends on the term, right? If they do 5 years, they might get him at 3, 5, 4. If they do 2 years, they might have to pay him 5, right? It's one of those kind of what do we want? He's a young kid still. I would offer him 4. I'd offer him 20 for 5 years. That might be something that he comes in and does.
You would give Max Domi a 4-year contract?
5-year contract.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Why? How old is he? 30?
He's been on 5 teams in 6 years. And every time you commit to Max Domi, what does Max Domi do? Max Domi goes back, and there's a reason he's been on 5 teams in 6 years. Max Domi is fine on a 1-year term. On a 1-year term.
Not the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that's a little different. He seemed to want to play here. So
You seem to want to play.
You want to keep the AAV down, then you're going to have to give him a term.
You can buy what Max Domi gives you for significantly less than a 5-year term in the NHL. He had 10 goals.
I'd give Domi a 3x3, something like that.
Yeah, and so that to me says Max Domi will not be on this team. Somebody will pay Max Domi, and I'm just saying I pray to Jesus it's not us at term like that. That is, no. For me, hard no. Bertuzzi, hard no too. He can go too. I remember, guys, when they got brought in, all we were told, and remember, when they underperformed all season, what did everybody say? Wait till the playoffs. They're going to be difference makers.
I thought they were. I thought they were both good in the playoffs, but
were they difference makers?
The team couldn't score.
But are they part of the team?
Bertuzzi had an assist in Game 7.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're part of the team, and if they're supposed to score, I don't know. Okay, so who's next on the hit list? Our good friend, shutdown center, David Kampf. Now, David Kampf has got another 3 years at 2.25.
I'm fine with that.
I don't think anybody's negative on David.
He is
Kampf.
what he is.
He does what he's supposed to do, right?
Yeah, I thought he was good last night. They didn't play a whole hell of a lot, but I thought he was good.
I think he'll still be here unless they make some sort of blockbuster move with Mitch, where they have to make some.
Doesn't make sense for him to go. Why would you?
Agree.
You know,
and listen, David Kampf is a valuable player when he does his part. As long as he does what he's supposed to do, he's not going to hurt you on the ice, right? And to be honest, guys, we need guys like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is an interesting guy. We've got Kelly Yarncroc next, and he has got next year and the year after at 2.1.
Good with that.
I think he stays. I like him.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm ready to move on. I've seen everything I need to see from Kelly Yarncroc. If you can flip Kelly Yarncroc and get something, I have no problem with Kelly Yarncroc not being on this team.
It wouldn't be the end of the world, obviously, but
No,
I think
I'm fine with it.
2.1 million. You'll get
You're
your
going to
15
have the
goals a
Easton
year.
Cowans and the Fraser Mittens coming there fighting for us.
That's what I mean. Like, I like Kelly Yarncroc. To me, he's a passenger on the train.
I could go either way with it.
Yeah. Okay. And listen, I celebrated him when he came in. I've not been more disappointed by any player in the entire team this year than this kid. Ryan Reeves, we've got him 2 more years, 1.35. What do we do, guys?
I keep him for one,
I
but it's
think you
minimum.
keep him.
It's a min contract.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, but like it's a roster spot. And
I like that. I saw him out in the tunnel when the guys were going on last night. You don't see, don't often see a non-dress guy, especially a regular non-dress. You might see a black ace that just got called up.
Actually, let's be honest, John. That's a great point.
He's there, and he looked like he had the game face on, like he was playing. So for a veteran player that a lot of guys take it personally when they get scratched, right?
Yeah.
They think that they can help, and
he's not above it. I agree.
His role.
That's a good point.
it's a minimum contract, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Listen, I love this kid, and I think this postseason was a bit of a coming out party. Johnny, I know you haven't been a fan all season, but Matthew Nyes, 925. He's on this coming season will be his last year on his rookie deal. Listen, I'm a huge fan. I'm just a big Matthew Nyes guy all the way along.
Yeah, I mean they're going to obviously sign him. You got to figure out what that number is going to be.
Yeah,
because I think he's eligible to sign an extension in July, right?
July 1st.
Yeah, so you got to, that's going to be up to his
age.
age.
So what are we thinking? Are we thinking maybe 3.5, 4?
Yeah, well, I mean, has he earned that yet?
But you know as well as I do, John. For young
got
players,
arbitration here, right?
Young players coming off contracts, you're buying future assets at a lower price, right?
Yeah, there's arbitration here too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and that a lot of times they don't take the intangibles, like the way he finishes, goes to the net, things like that. There's no stat for that. They're going to look at goals, assists, points, ice time, giveaways, takeaways, that kind of stuff. Those are the things that this contract, because the way this negotiation will go is the agent and the Leafs will look at all those numbers and comparables and come up with it and say, okay, Matthew Nyes is Dylan Larkin or, whoever. That's who he is. That guy makes 3.5. The other guy that he's liked makes 4.5. We're going to offer you 4 right in the middle. And then they're going to come back and say, well, we think he's like this. We want 5. And then they'll settle somewhere at 4.5.
Yeah.
I don't, but he's a young kid. I thought he was, he impressed me in the later half of this series, the latter half of this series. I thought he was
I agree. Bit of a coming out party. Nolan, what are your thoughts on Matthew Nyes?
Yeah, no, I love the player. I hope he stays around a long time. I know it's really video game like to like EA, like NHL franchise mode, but I would love if they gave him like an 8-year deal, like $4 million, just bought low. Because imagine that like 25, 26.
To sign that if they think the upside is there, do a bridge deal, 2 years at 9, 4.5 a year for 2 years, and then you'll see.
Listen, Nolan, I agree with you 100%. I would love an 8-year deal at 4 a season.
Buy low.
Yeah. But like John said, listen, his agent would be doing him a disservice if he allowed him to sign that deal. So now we're getting into the end of the forwards here. And is anybody passionate about either Connor Dewar or Pontus Holmberg? Is anybody passionate about one or the other?
No.
I like them both.
Replaceable, right?
I like them both, but they're fine. But
fine.
You got kids coming up that I'd give a shot.
Okay, so here is an uncomfortable one. What do you do with Nicholas Robertson?
Trade him.
I don't know. It's hard to say because
Go on.
it could definitely be like really good depth scoring, and you need guys making $796,000 scoring goals.
Well,
for you
he's up
down.
though. This is his last year though. He'll
sign for like $900K.
So he's a restricted free agent.
Maybe he demands a trade.
I think he will.
Says he won't sign.
But I don't think he has to demand. I think they'll move him. He had
So
a lot of opportunities this year.
all I'm going to say is, and I think you guys know I've been a Nick Robertson fan. I would love to see Nick Robertson with a different coach for a year, just to prove me wrong. If we have a different guy in here and we see the exact same thing from Nick Robertson, I'll fall on the sword and say I missed it completely. But Nick Robertson has not been a Sheldon Keefe fan from the get-go. And I wonder, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see us give up on this guy and then have him turn into his brother.
Yeah, or Carter Verhaeghe.
I just
Jared McCann.
Yeah. Jared McCann. Oh, we could have protected Jared McCann.
Protected Justin Hall over him.
Okay, so restricted free agent this year, Noah Gregor. Does anybody feel passionate about Noah Gregor, or is he a passenger too?
Yeah, I'm okay with either way.
Bobby McMatthews.
Yeah, got to sign him. Didn't they sign him?
Yeah,
so McMatthews is signed for this year and next year at 1.3. Now,
McMatthews signed a 2-year extension.
He signed this year at 762, and then he has the 2-year extension at 1.35.
Yeah, so he's got 2 more years at 1.3. So
Yeah.
here's my question to you, though: does McMatthews have trade value?
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
I wouldn't move him though.
All right. So let's talk defense. Guys, let's talk defense. What do we do with Morgan Riley? Because listen, Morgan Riley.
What's his
Morgan Riley has another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at 7.5. And listen, Morgan Riley has escaped almost unscathed through this run. The Morgan Riley of the playoffs from last year that we lauded and said, that guy, man, playoff Morgan Riley is brilliant. I don't know where he went this year. It was a disaster. And that effort on the winning goal, I don't know, you guys. Is there a market for Morgan Riley at 7.5?
Are you kidding me?
I'm asking.
31 other teams trying to get Morgan Riley at 7.5.
Do you move Morgan Riley then?
No.
Okay.
Because you've got in my opinion, and I know you like to pinpoint on a shift or a goal or an event.
I just like to hold players accountable.
He's a $9 or $10 million defenseman in the National Hockey on a 7.5 deal for 5 more years. Probably going to want to maybe not have him in year 4 and 5 of that because he'd be a little older. But no, absolutely not. I don't move him at all. I mean, It would have to be you'd have to know something about the player that's coming that the team that has him don't know. That's my opinion. I mean,
Nolan, thoughts?
Never say never. Like I said, anybody could be moved.
Yeah, just talking to people I know with the Leafs, I've heard some people say you got to move Morgan Riley. I don't know. I kind of like him still. I know he had a rough playoffs, but just thinking about last year in the playoffs, he kind of just bought himself a year in my books. I don't know.
Okay, so listen, I'm fine with Morgan Riley. Fine. I don't know if I love Morgan Riley as a number 1 defenseman on a team that's going to be a legit Stanley Cup contender. Only because I've seen it before. I know what Morgan Riley is, and I think on a legitimate Stanley Cup team, he's a second pair defenseman. That's my personal opinion.
So, if you're right, then maybe that's what they do.
That's my opinion.
But to have him at 7, that's not a number 1 defenseman salary.
This is what John.
11 is.
And
right?
so I'm saying whether it's the Aaron Ekblads, whether it's the Petrangelos, whether it's the Hedmans, whether it's insert your guy here. He's not at that level. He's not. But again, I want to be clear. I'm not lambasting the player. Morgan Riley is a very, very good NHL defenseman. I'm just saying, for the Maple Leafs, I don't know that you win with Morgan Riley. That's all.
I wouldn't be opposed to going out in free agency and signing a guy like Justin Schultz, bring back Eric Gustafson, or going out and getting Brandon Montour to run the top power play, take some pressure off Morgan Riley, and just let him be a good top pairing defenseman.
So we had Gustafson, remember? And the head coach would never play him.
Let's speed this up on the. So where do we got on the defense?
So we got TJ Brody's off the books. Any chance TJ Brody comes back?
Zero.
None. I agree. Jake McCabe, 1 more year at 2 sheets.
Extend him with more than that if he needs it. He was their best defenseman.
6.5.
No, I don't think I'd go there, but I'd go 5.
Okay. All right.
Couple years at 2 years, 10 million, done. Do it.
All right.
He was a critic at the beginning of the year. I like him now.
Here's a question mark for everybody, and I don't know what the right answer is here, but I think I've seen enough of Timothy Liljegren.
Yeah, I think if you can get a package like you got for his buddy there, who's the other one that was just like
Sandin.
Yeah, it may, if didn't they get a first rounder for him?
Yeah.
So if you can get a first round pick in this draft for Timothy Liljegren,
take it and run. I agree.
Yeah.
Got Ethan Cowan.
Connor Timmins. What is Connor Timmins at this point? Like, I think. Listen, I've liked Connor Timmins, but he's a winger in a defenseman's body.
Maybe with a new coach, give him a chance, but I'm not.
Hey, what's his deal?
1.1.
1.1.
He's got another year.
24, 25. Yep.
Yeah. So you bring him to camp and see, and
I'm a big fan of re-signing Joel Edmondson if we can.
Yeah. I mean, he was good. He was real good, for sure. He's a good option to bring back. I would look at him 100% depending on the money.
Does anybody think there is any chance that Mark Giordano plays again?
No. I think
he's retiring.
Yeah. Okay.
May retire in Calgary. They might do that 1-day contract thing, and
which would be the right thing to do, right? I think that's the right thing to do. Okay, so we got 2 other guys on defense. Does anybody have anything negative to say about Simone Benoit? Because
no, he's been I thought he was their best player last night. Best player. Not forward, not defense, not goal. Benoit was unreal last night.
Can't argue it. And I'll be honest, if let's say Tree Living gets caught up in the bloodletting, that 1.3 for the next 3 years is an absolute theft. Absolute theft.
Yeah.
Last defenseman that we got to talk about, and you guys know how much I love this guy. I would do whatever you take to re-sign Ilya Lyubushkin. I love this guy. I love everything he brings. He's the exact kind of defenseman that you need, especially if you're playing with Morgan Riley, right?
I like him.
Yeah, me too. Nolan, thoughts?
I wouldn't hate to see him go. I'd rather see the Leafs go and get a guy like Brett Pesce or someone to.
Well, I think they will. They will. I mean, they're not going to keep all these guys.
Yeah.
There's going to be some moves made, and guys are going to choose to, But yeah, Pesce, he's always rumored. He's a solid player. But there'll be other guys that'll emerge as candidates, and
Lyubushkin is like third pair defenseman.
They may add some trades more.
Third pair. I don't know.
Yeah. They may have
real top pair defenseman.
All right, goalies.
Okay.
Who's your number 1 going into next season?
He's not on the roster.
I think he is.
We don't have a number 1. We don't have a number 1 goalie on our roster.
Maybe you said that Thursday night. I asked you, who is there any question about who Toronto's number 1 goalie is?
And so the answer to the question is Joseph Woll should be, but he's made of glass.
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah, that's the problem.
And so, listen, is there any doubt in my mind that Joseph Woll is the legitimate number 1 goaltender in the NHL? Absolutely none. I really don't. I have none. However, being a professional athlete is about being available to your team. And you cannot rely on him to be available. And for that reason alone, I can't continue to dance with him.
I would give Hildeby a good look at Cam.
100%, John. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Maybe Hildeby becomes the number one.
So it could be Hildeby, Wool, and somebody else that comes in from the outside and they compete.
I'm not, and listen, I am not negative on having Martin Jones as the third goaltender if Martin Jones wants to come.
He's been a good pro this year.
He was fine. And I think, truthfully, there's probably a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a goalie like Martin Jones can teach Hildeby, that can teach a Joseph Woll. I mean, Joseph Wall's a little bit older, but nonetheless, and so that's the roster, guys.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, there's a ton of stuff up in the air, and I think they're going to add via trade more so maybe than free agency this year because there's a lot of moving pieces. But what we'll do, like the guy said earlier, we expected to hopefully be doing some more shows, but this is the last one of the season. We are going to, however, jump on the air if something big happens in Leafland or NHL land, for that matter. Right, something major happens, we'll throw something out on our socials. That's we're going to do a 20-minute live hit or something to talk about this, and we're going to plan a real good show in June, where we maybe break down the draft and then preview free agency, and maybe by then there'll be a little bit of more clarity on who's staying and who's around and who's making the decisions. So that'll be a cool thing, and then we'll get right after it starting training camp next year. But it's been a fun season. Thanks to Bjorn and Don Cherries and you guys. And we battle a little bit, but folks, you should see our text. We have a group text, and it's on fire every game, right? And that one and I are fighting and arguing and hollering and talking about who's on the ice. Anyway, it's fun.
It's all love, Johnny. It's all love, buddy.
I've enjoyed the season, and any final words, guys?
John?
Nolan?
Nope. Okay, I'll go. Yeah, it was a fun season. Really enjoyed doing this with you guys. Hope everyone that watched and followed along had a fun time, and I enjoyed all the interactions we had with all of our followers and viewers and whatnot. And we'll be back for next year, and it'll be even bigger and better.
And listen, if there's something that you want to see, that you like more of, that you'd like to see less of, let us know, man. We're always listening to what everybody's got to say. We want the interaction. We love the interaction. Believe it or not, we all get along very famously off air. I've had people text me going like, "Hey man, do you and John, are you guys okay? Because you guys go pretty hard at each other. Trust me, we're great. Everything is fine." But listen, above all else, thank you to the sponsors for coming out and making the show possible for us. And
let's do just at the end. Let's do a shout out. Taylor Pendrith won his first PGA Tour title today.
Attaboy! Yeah. There you go. And there you go. So listen. Thanks to everybody for watching. Watch our socials and whatnot. You'll see stuff when it's coming out. We enjoy doing the show for you. And above all else, for the last time this season, go Leafs go.
Go Leafs go.